Okay, my name's Paul Westwood. I'm here in the US. We're introducing the new line of compounds and buffing material from FARECLA, the new FARECLA G360. Welcome and
Aloha. So my name is Jim Salvatore. I'm here with Saint-Gobain. We've now had the acquisition of FARECLA, which now allows us to combine 100 and so years of abrasive technology, marry it with the compounds, and then get it out to the RSG, Saint-Gobain, Norton, Carborundum teams to distribute the products. The latest, greatest G360 product, it speaks for itself. You're going to test it, you're going to love it. I think today you'll probably, after we're done doing the training here on the west coast of the US, these guys are probably going to give you some testimonials and believe what they say, try it out yourself, you're going to believe it even more.
Hi, I'm Leif Hansen, automotive application technician with Norton Saint-Gobain, and we're here today. We're going to be doing some FARECLA training with the compounds and polishes.
And what's your main responsibility?
Technical support for MSOs. Service King is what I primarily deal with. Been inundated with stuff yesterday, today, and tomorrow, so we'll get to it. Okay, so our best practice is 1500 grit, dry, 2000 grit, wet. If you want to go farther, 3000 grit wet. Okay, that's going to be up to the individual technician. Yes, sir.
Does it matter if they're going to be starting their first cut with a compound using wool or foam?
No.
Depending on what grit they're going to
White
finish.
wool or white foam? Is that what you're referring
The
to?
most aggressive foam
Yeah.
and your wool.
No.
So
It's not gonna matter.
it doesn't matter
No.
because with our other compound, it was like I would go to a 3000 if they're going to be using the foam, just because it's a little bit less aggressive, right?
It's a lot less aggressive.
So anyway, so so what you're saying is that it doesn't matter.
No.
So in fact, their system was developed on all foam.
Perfect. Okay.
So
Awesome.
the wool is only a bonus.
It's a bonus. Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
No. Questions are good. So, generally we're not going to go and what we're going to do today is we're going to do a heck of a lot more bigger, sanding in a bigger area than you generally would do. 3-inch DAs. I brought my 3-inch DA, to do spot repairs or to do just little nibbing on areas if we wanted to do that.
do you want to split this into half and half?
That's an applicator.
If you want to, I mean,
Or we'll sand the whole thing with 15 minutes. We'll do 2,000 on one side.
Okay, so dry, the old days of wet sanding, I don't think anybody actually uses a bucket in wet sanding anymore, but we're sanding to get nibs out or orange peel if that's what we desire. Okay, so in a production shop, the orange peel on this is pretty darn sufficient. I think we're good to go. All we're worried about is dust nibs. This one's got a lot of solvent pop in it. Hopefully, in general, your shops aren't going to have solvent popping and fish eyes and stuff. If you do, then we can visit other areas of filtration and cleaning the booths and filters and stuff like that. What we're concentrating on is dust. Yep. So we're going to start out with 1500. We're going to cut our dirt nib out. When cutting for dirt, there's no interface pad on here. Okay, because the interface pad, all you're going to do if you use this soft interface pad, yep, Grady's right. All you're going to do is you're going to round that over because this is too squishy. Okay, so for cutting, you don't want to round it, you want to cut it. Just like when you're doing body filler, you want to start with a coarser grit because you want to true that panel, not just make it smooth. That's all we're doing. We're concentrating on this. I got a slight angle to my DA. It's not aggressive at all, just a slight angle, and I'm mostly cutting with the edge of it, but I'm still keeping it flat. Okay, so we got our piece of dirt out of there. I don't want to do all this demo. I want somebody else's sand.
Get the opportunity to have really big tails. So that's one question, but I always sand when I recommend sand, for me, it's a 10-second rule. So you sand for 10 seconds and wipe.
Correct.
So and I'll make sure that's as clean as it can be.
Right.
That way you reduce the chance of getting into really serious pigtails. Even with a machine,
the pigtails
they're very difficult to get out. They're deep. They really do grind in because what happens with pigtails is that this is obviously lacquer. If it's a soft, can be soft. They start to roll when you sand.
Right.
They start rolling into balls, which gives you. They get caught up in the machine, and that's where you get your pigtails. And they are very difficult to remove, even with a wool pad, because they really do get into the bone. So for me, it's a just from my experience, it's a 10-second rule. Sand for 10 seconds, wipe the pad, and keep that with that. And that way, you prolong the life of the pads. You get more durability out of the abrasives rather than throwing it in the bin. I know we like them to throw them away because it's more sales, but you know, in big shops they want productivity. So.
Now, when we were out in Waterville, we just sanded, we buffed straight 1200 grit out, and it worked just like Paul was saying with
With the
1000
332nd, yeah, you're using a 332nd there?
No, this is their 316. Yeah, I'll
That's good. No, you're doing it with a coarser pipe, so that'll even leave more picture.
and I'll leave you with this. 1500 grit on a 3/16 or 3/32 is 1500 grit. Okay, it's the aggressiveness at which it's sanding, not aggressive in scratch wise. You're still getting 1500 grit. Okay?
Oh yeah, you know, but the pigtails in
There's not well versed in a DA. I give them a 3 millimeter one or a 3/32 because they're not going to be able to do as much damage as fast. Okay, a guy that is, you know, the 20-year technician that's been doing it forever, he's just as comfortable with that 9-inch. He can move a lot faster, or that 9 millimeter. He can move a lot faster and get the same effect out of it. So, while people have put a lot of you know, importance on 3/32, 3/16, don't get hung up on it. Don't get hung up on it.
So mainly the bigger throw is mainly used in more aggressive sandpapers for prepping.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're using 1500 grit across the board, it's 1500 grit. Yeah, you're not making it more aggressive with a more aggressive DA.
What we found is with sanding is that sometimes with a bigger throw machine you can get the big pigtails, and for many years we recommend for polishing side of sanding it was used no more than a 5mm orbit machine or 5mm throw machine.
Sure.
Because you get more better consistency in the scratch pattern.
Which would be similar to our 3/32. Switch back to the interface pad.
And Leaf, what grit of foam pad are you going to use there?
We're going to go with 2000 on this one. Okay. What's happening there?
Taking a video. Yeah.
Adam, you're the only guy sanding over there?
Yeah.
So, you know, you just want to, and the only reason I'm even doing all of this is just to find the dust holes. Most of the time what these guys are going to do, what these guys are going to do is they're going to come in, they're going to go like this, you know, they're going to look for another dust nib. So that's it. The only reason I said to go like this is so that we could find, so we can find where all of our junk is at.
And what dry did he follow up on that panel, Randy?
So this one here is 1500 with the interface pad. That's this is 1500 without interface pad. That's 1500 dry, and then 1500 with the interface pad, and then with 2000. Both these have 2000 on them. This just has one extra step by putting the 1500 interface dry.
And this is all 1200 dry on this
This is
side.
all
Yeah,
12.
what we do on this side, we're going to do 1500 now, and then 12, and then
This is already 12.
that's 12. So we're on this side, these both 12. So
Right.
on this side, we do 1500 and a
1500 foam.
foam. Yeah.
With going from our 15 film to the 2000, that it's not taking enough scratches out, okay? And it's not part of our best practice, but this is what I do, and this is what I suggest to people, is I go 1500 foam in between, okay?
So you
now,
just, the jump is less than, isn't it?
absolutely,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, and especially with the new FARECLA, you're gonna be able to just go 15 film, 15 foam, and cut. Buff, however you want to look at it, okay?
Have you measured
Right,
the time
right.
difference it takes from what you're just talking about? Have you measured the time difference between using 2000 and polishing on the same process versus 15? Because if you're doing 15, you're taking more time polishing to get the scratches out.
Are you?
Well, because 2000 is already smooth.
Right, but if you didn't get the 1500 film out all the way, then you're still buffing just as much. So that's what I'm saying. As an option, okay, as an option, if you want to go, if guys are having an issue with going from 15 film to 2000 foam, use 15.
In the middle.
Yes, okay. But guys will go right from this.
The old technology of compounds, that's
Compound.
true.
This is going to be more polishing time though.
This side is 1500, what you said.
A1 is the line.
Then
1500
with
with
the
the
interface, and then
Then 2000.
2000.
Okay.
2000?
Yeah,
That's it. And this side is 1200 straight, and this side is 1200, then with a 1500 wet fun scenario.
And this is just 1200.
This is just 1200, nothing else.
Randy, what's the part number you're putting on there?
You can, some people put it on, it's a preference.
SFC 101.
Yeah, you don't want to know what it is, yeah. The key is now not to,
Can I have it now?
you can have it now.
Yeah, okay. So,
Was that enough compound?
New
Yeah,
wool
sure.
pad, okay, that's plenty of compound, yeah. New wool pad, obviously everybody knows that they're messy. I did spur this one outside already, but it's still, yeah, it's still crazy, so. Yeah. So, I'm at about 1200 RPM. That's gonna be kind of personal preference. Some guys are gonna wanna run slower, some guys are gonna wanna run faster. I personally, I like about 12 to 15-ish, so that's, I don't think there's a set standard for it.
No,
It's, I
particularly
mean,
with the 6-inch system there is, but not with an 8-inch system, so with 8-inch pads, so it depends on the preference, but 1200 to 1500 RPM is around about.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
You have
matter.
no recommended.
Yeah.
What is that? We make that. It's something with a draw when you're 15.
So Paul, you like 12 or you like 15?
I don't mind. I don't, you know, if I get
so, okay.
we're doing numbers. So we have number 3. Yours is a number 3 on the liquid roll. So the mixed speed.
So,
between 3 and 4.
And when we're buffing, we're gonna keep the pad flat. We're not trying to dig in on an edge, okay? The only time you'd ever use an edge is up against the body line or something gingerly, okay? But we wanna keep it flat. When you're buffing naturally, it'll go up just a touch, okay? Not very much, just a slight angle on it, so it doesn't grab. If it's completely flat, sometimes it maybe wanna waffle or grab on it, get chatter, there you go, it's a good term. Just a slight angle, and you almost can't even see it, but you know, from flat to standing up, that's all I'm doing, okay? And you're just trying to keep it moving. You're not going to stand in one spot very long. It's a great way to burn something or heat it up too much. Yeah. So we're moving around. We're keeping it consistent. And everybody's buffing style is going to be different.
Yeah.
I concentrate on one area. I don't do big giant areas at once. I'm only buffing this area right here, and then I'm buffing this area right here. So, you know, to like. If so, that's how somebody does it and puts compound out, that's cool. I just do one spot. Rotation of the buffer, you want it to go off of the panel, all right? We're not buffing this way into the panel. You can see how it grabs it. When you're buffing this edge, you buff off of the panel, all right? So it's coming off of it. No matter which angle you're doing it at, even if you're over here or you're over here, then you change your buffing angle to accommodate. You always want to come off. If you're doing a fender, and a door, you know, there's nothing wrong with putting a piece of tape down on that fender there while you're doing the edge of that door.
Yeah, marks the
so you're-
edges, the edges that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, when you're buffing and you're not watching what you're doing and that buffer catches the door handle and it kicks the buffer back onto your chest,
Yeah.
you don't forget that.
I broke my nose on a Porsche 924. I got caught up on that handle.
This is.
So the second step, foam pad,
the
same
same
compound.
compound.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
I mean, you know, I don't expect the company to fight 20.
Everybody's gonna buff today, so don't think you guys are getting out of this.
That's so nice.
When I put water on this, it came out. It was
But
nicer.
the first time if you're going to use the brand new pad, put a
More
little
than
bit
enough.
extra compound on it.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
my
new pad,
that's
new
my
pad.
opinion of it, just to make sure that
Right,
it's primed.
because the pad's thirsty, it's gonna suck that.
so brand new pad,
up.
suck up.
Yep.
Tons.
And while he's buttering the toast, can you quickly explain the idea of a dry system?
This is dry, the FARECLA 360 is a dry use system. So it needs no water to help it to lubricate and cut the surface and leave a good finish. The formulation has been developed to be used dry. So there's no need for water at all.
So it also cuts down on the mess in the body shop?
Correct, absolutely. You see the splatter and dust is very, very minimal.
Now, and Randy just instinctually did it. So we had it. Oh no, you didn't turn it down. Okay, so for foam polishing, I'll turn it down. Usually, if I'm at 15 when I'm cutting, I'll go down to 12. I'm at 12. I usually go down to 1,000.
Right.
And I slow my passes down considerably. Okay. Because what you want to do is you want to make that even and get those foam polishing. What we're trying to achieve is get those wool and coarser grit scratches out of it. Just like anything else, it's grit progression. So all we're trying to achieve is getting those wool scratches and those compound scratches out of it.
Because it's for dark colours. Black cap, dark colours.
What if I use it on white collar?
No problem. But
It's
association,
It's over.
the
White cap.
The problematic colours are always dark colours.
If it's
and it's
light,
got a
you
dark
go
cap.
So, but you're not starting with that.
No,
it's a finishing
It's
the last step.
Right, so, yeah, okay, I get it. All right, I see what you're saying.
Here, you want an easier,
Oh, but it's
easier
white, it's not dark.
association?
No,
Right.
Oh,
Except that one goes with
here I'm thinking you're gonna give me some glaze out of it.
Dark. It's dark.
Oh, that's
It's darker than white.
dark colors.
it's very problematic putting colour in compounds. I don't know if you know, manufacturing wise, it's a nightmare for production.
Right.
Don't walk away, sissy.
It also changes the way the compound works.
Absolutely, can do, yeah, for sure.
What's that?
Now this is as good as 3M finishing. Low speed for this
Yeah, 1200 and slow down your passes a little bit, Randy.
1200?
No, 1000, I'm sorry. And slow down your passes a little bit. You were on 1200 already?
No, I was at same thing. I didn't change it.
All we're doing is just removing any smears.
So you're gonna create a lot more heat. This is gonna create a lot more heat.
Right.
At 1200 and slowing down, you're gonna create more friction.
1000 and slowing down?
It's slowing down. You're slowing down the movement.
1000. Yeah, but you slow down your RPM by 200 RPM.
Right.
There you go.
All we're trying to do is just really enhance it, get rid of any swirls or minor imperfections like blemishes, and leave it to a very high gloss.
And you'll see how much fillers and oils are in other products. This is pretty darn good. We're finished. This is alcohol wipes. Everybody's seen these, used them. They're the Bilbus ones. You take this and you wipe this panel.
So if you had fillers in there after wiping this, it's gonna be a lot.
It's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
all that stuff is going to come back. And this is what happens, you know, when a car goes from detail or from buffing over to detail. They wash it. It sits out in the sun for 2 hours.
Dries it all up.
Then it looks just like this, or
It
looks
also
like
can
it would.
highlight if you've missed anything as well.
Yeah.
Is there an equivalent in this industry with a profilometer to be able to measure the depth of scratch?
Yeah, we do them all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got all that data.
Over in Water of Elite, you guys use that glossometer, gloss meter, whatever it was.
There's a gloss and haze meter that'll
Yeah.
measure
Okay.
at the incident angles.
And it's probably definite metalwork.
You can see
metalwork
it
is
didn't-
a profilometer, so it measures how deep the scratch
It didn't
is.
change that
the
at
gloss and
all
haze
with
meter
the
just
alcohol,
measuring the
and that's why I
actual
wanted to bring these, because I wanted to prove that
So it's not
there's no fillers, there's no oils, there's nothing in this
There's
stuff
no-
that's going to be
there's no
removed.
thing to put on here, like, to do that well.
Probably wouldn't see anything because it's just oils and stuff in there. But the panel, you're going to start seeing those scratches back.
You'll
in
see
there.
all the DA scratches.
Because when you're buffing, a lot of times with a glaze or a finishing, it's got oils and it's got fillers in it. So it's glazing over and filling in an oil in those scratches. To the raw eye appearance, it looks like it's filled. It looks like it's polished. But then you take an alcohol wipe and wipe it off, you see all the scratches back in. This, it doesn't look like I did anything to it. It looks just like chocolate. And that's why I wanted to prove that point.
So that's your best practice method.
Best practice for us is 15 dry, okay, 2,000 wet with an interface. 15 dry, no interface pad. 2,000 wet with an interface pad. Compound with a white wool or foam pad. And then on dark color cars, we're going to compound again. We're going to use the compound with a black foam pad. And then we're going to go back with our on our dark color cars with a blue pad and the finish. Okay, and that's all we got.
I'm going to
This is
put
this
this out
using
on
a
wool pad. This is our cutting compound, and I'm going over 1,200.
Direct over 1200 dry?
Yes, sir. First step with a foam, with a wool pad. The second step is with a foam, just to enhance and finish, to remove any vinous scratches and leave to a high gloss. Okay, so same compound but with a different foam, black. Okay?
And what's our RPM now?
Around about 1500 RPM. That's the same as the foam. So we've used a 1200 wet and dry with a wool pad, and then we use the same compound to remove the swirl marks from the wool pad to leave a very high gloss, almost two-step system.
Wave at us, Steve. That's a good reflection.
From here it looks very good.
1200 dry.
Yep.
1200 wool. 1200
foam. Same compound, one product.
Fantastic.
We went from 1200 dry paper.
Yep.
Then we went to the wool with the first cutting compound.
Yep.
And then this was the second step
with the same compound.
with the same.
And then the
And how does the results look?
Well, we
What to make? I'm just gonna some marks. I just decreased it.
Looks awesome. And that was with one 1200 grit dry sandpaper, and that's the results that we got out of it.